Hello and welcome to Notes from the Capitol. This is Representative Brad Ralph of the 119th District, Dodge City, Kansas. We've just completed our fifth week of the 2017 legislative session, and the issues are certainly starting to heat up. In the past week, the issues of budget and revenue have come to the forefront, and as they began to heat up over the week, they finished on a rather mixed note. Early in the week, the Senate had been proceeding with a rescission and budget bill through several days of hearings with the intention of bringing the bill out of committee and to the floor of the Senate by the end of the week for debate and passage. By late in the day on Wednesday, it appeared that the Senate was going to consider a package of three separate bills that addressed both rescission and budget concerns. As you may recall, the rescission bill is the bill that will be taken up both by the Senate and by the House that will address current shortfalls in fiscal year 17, which actually ends in June of this year. Depending on who you speak to, we are looking at something in the neighborhood of $350 million in terms of a shortfall for the remaining portion of this budget year ending in June. When you hear people speaking of a rescission bill, it is the bill that will have to address that shortfall in some fashion so as to close that gap. At the same time, both the Senate and the House will have to consider budget bills to take us through the fiscal year 2018 and 2019 to come. It was expected that the Senate's rescission bill was going to rely upon a 5% cut in K-12 spending, as well as a borrowing of money from the Pooled Money Investment Board, something in the range of $100 million to $150 million. On the budget side, the Senate was expected to propose raising income taxes as well as eliminating the LLC non-wage income tax exemption. As the Senate prepared for debate on Thursday morning, it became apparent almost immediately to all involved that there were not sufficient votes to pass any of the proposals that had been made. And by 8:30 on Thursday morning, the Senate had gone into adjournment and was finished for the week. By the end of the day on Thursday, the word coming out was that the Senate was not going to work any additional bills through their side of the legislature until the rescission bill and budget bill had been moved forward and passed. It's difficult to know exactly what those signals may mean, but we are certainly anticipating additional proceedings at the beginning of next week, and we'll see how those occur. It is of note that later on Thursday, the House Tax Committee did pass out its own budget bill. That bill had several interesting components. One of those would be a striking out of the LLC tax exemption to put businesses back on the tax rolls. It did away with the glide path to zero and also raised income taxes by replacing our two-tiered structure with three separate tiers for personal income taxes, with the top rate being at 5.45%. You can find additional components of that particular tax bill in House Bill 2023 in regard to the adjustments on the tax rates, found in House Bill 2178, and inclusion of the itemized medical deduction and repeal of the glide path to zero. It was also interesting to note that the House bill did not include any changes in food sales tax, nor did it make any change or increase on the motor fuel tax. At the current time, there has been no indication that the governor's initial proposal of increasing the tax on alcohol and tax on cigarettes has found its way into either the Senate consideration or the House bill, with specific proposals now finding their way onto the floors of both the House and the Senate. I would expect to begin to hear more individual conversations from the individual legislators and for legislators to start making their own feelings known about some of the parts of these individual bills outside of committee membership. Again, I would encourage you to take every opportunity to tune in to the live stream audio available for committee hearings as well as debates on both the House and Senate floor. It's my understanding, for example, that the House proposal out of the Tax Committee last week went through several versions and several votes. It would be most helpful for people to be able to see their legislators in action, to see the conversation that underlies many of these votes, and to see exactly who votes in what fashion in these committees. The proposal that finally came out of the House Taxation Committee, I understand, passed on a vote of 13-9. In closing for this week, I would like to take a moment to thank all of those who came out to the legislative coffee this past February 5th at High Plains Journal. We appreciate the participation and the questions that are posed, and appreciate people turning out and being interested in what's going on in their legislature. If you would like to have an automatic update of Notes from the Capitol, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Brad Ralph for Dodge City. Also, if you will forward to me or get me your email address, I will see that you are placed on a mailing list so that we can deliver notes from the Capitol directly to your email inbox. As always, I want to express my thanks to Rick Sowers and the Sound Shop Electronics for their efforts in production of this Notes from the Capitol. Of course, we were always very open and excited to receive your comments, suggestions as to how to make this particular Notes from the Capitol more informative to you, more useful to you, and to make it better in the future. Thank you all, and we'll plan on talking to you next week.